Gus Nyquist on Team Sweden. Goalie Jussi Saros joins Team Finland. The round-robin action begins tonight when Canada faces off versus Sweden at 7 o'clock on TNT. Don't miss the latest edition of Preds Insiders tonight at 6 o'clock. The busy offseason continues for the Tennessee Titans as they have the first overall pick in this year's draft. On a recent social media video, Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders was heard sharing that he has 2 top 30 visits scheduled with the Browns and Giants. The NFL Combine gets underway February 27th. And according to reports this afternoon, former Titans general manager John Robinson is interviewing with Jacksonville for their vacant GM position. Now here's your Fox 17 weather forecast.
On Fox 17 meteorologist Greg Bobus, this morning some areas of dense fog and showers increasing throughout the morning. This afternoon, heavy rainfall taking us into the evening as well. 1 to 2 inches of rain possible. High temps today in the mid-50s.
For more, log on to theGameNashville.com. Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again. Welcome in. It is a cloudy, gloomy, cold, raw Wednesday in Nashville, Tennessee. By the way, talking a little bit about snow on Sunday. Just thought I'd sort of mention it. Let's go to Murfreesboro and get the Walter Reed Memorial update on Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, what's the story?
Oh man, it's all water under the bridge. Nobody cares, George, except Billy. And Billy doesn't care that I've got it. He actually likes that I've got this.
Wait a minute. Hold on. You don't think I don't care?
I'm not saying you don't, but the listeners out there, they just want to listen, man. They don't care about all that. But I feel better today, man. I really do. I feel a little bit better. I'm still not totally healed, man. My head is jerking a little bit, but I'm feeling better.
You couldn't pass a drug test though, could you?
I'm not commenting on that.
That's a good answer on your end. Okay, great show for you today. Mike Organ from the Tennessean will join us for his weekly visit at 3:20, and then our man Will Perdue at 4 o'clock. And any of you who have ever heard Will Perdue before, it's never dull. He'll come in probably with a cheap shot. He and Kelly will bond immediately, and so it'll be a lot of fun. Okay, so I'm glad that that it sounds like you're at least a little better than yesterday.
Oh yeah, I was when I was sitting in the chair, I was not good. I felt like I was going to throw up. I really did. I tried it. I mean, I'd been on the couch all day and I tried it. I feel like a wimp with getting up and not finishing what I started, but man, I was not good.
No. Billy, what's going on?
Not much. It's I feel like, is my mic quiet? There we go. Yeah, Tony yesterday said now's the time for me to get Kelly. He was talking about his.
In other words, go to town.
Yeah, just go to town on Kelly
while he's on like.
Well, I've got beef with Tony because Tony was talking a bunch of trash about UT and UT got spanked again.
They did.
You know, I didn't get to see much of it.
Oh, I did.
Because I was at the Vandy Auburn game. It sounds like Kentucky D'd up better than they have been D'ing up in a while. And it was needed.
They were hitting threes and Tennessee was not.
How loud was Rupp?
Oh, it was loud.
It got loud. It got loud right there towards the end too, man. It was classic Rupp, that's for sure. It was a really good game. It was back and forth, and then UT took the lead by 2, and then Kentucky comes down and hits a huge 3, and then from then on, it's just they just 2 times in a row, man.
They do this cheer, and they do it in the second half at the 8-minute dead ball timeout, where they have all the cheerleaders come out, and they get this one person way up in the air And, they've got the music going and the whole thing, and the place goes absolutely nuts when they do it. And for the record, I would not want to be up there because I don't trust if I've got some slappy like Kelly holding me, he'd drop me on purpose.
I would not trust that at all.
Okay. So, Billy, we're looking, given that Kelly is alive and well, okay?
Yes.
We're looking for a grade A, top of the line update.
I think it's a
Are
good
you
update.
going to do well? Yeah, but I'm not looking for good. I'm looking for great.
This is a great update.
I think.
Well, yesterday it was only 3 minutes long. I mean, we had 20 minutes left in the segment. What are we doing, Billy?
You were on your deathbed, not able to add any.
Oh, is that the problem? Is that the problem? It was all on me.
It
So
goes
it's all
on
me.
quicker when
He was not able to add what we will call perspective.
Was that right?
That's really good.
It's brought to you by
who are you saying this stuff to?
It's brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. You can find her online, mortgageladyyusa.com, or give her a call, 615-969-4350. We're going to start right there in the SEC. Obviously, Kentucky got the win over Tennessee. By the way, Mark Pope now is undefeated against Tennessee in his career as a player at Kentucky and in his first year as a coach. He beat Tennessee 4 times as a player and now twice.
Okay, help me though. When he was a player, it was Rick Pitino,
Tennessee
I think, against Jerry Green. I mean, that was a total mismatch back then. So the fact, look, the 2 wins he's gotten this year, that's big stuff. But back then, that was a mismatch.
That's something to remember.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
but
thank you.
Kentucky, big win over Tennessee. Tennessee, for some reason, struggles against this Kentucky matchup. What Kentucky does is they drop back. They drop back even further on defense. Tennessee was, hitting 10, 15-foot jump shots. They didn't take the wide open threes they had.
They might play a third time
in Nashville.
I would say.
They could. They very well could.
I don't think Tennessee would like that.
You never know.
Also, of course, George and I were there. Auburn beat Vanderbilt 80-68. We're going to talk more about that, I would imagine, with Will Perdue, but that was the number 1 team of the country being the number 1 team in the country.
Kelly, I walked out of there last night, and really, I couldn't get very upset. Vandy played. Now, if going in that they're going to go 3 out of 17 from 3, they're not going to win.
Right.
But their effort was terrific. Coming back from down 15-0 to start the game to actually take the lead. But I got news for everybody. Auburn, this is not exactly breaking stuff. Auburn's pretty damn good.
Yeah, and then when they get in a tight spot, they give it to Janai Broom, and then he can just take. It's amazing to watch that guy play because he's not overly athletic. I said this last week, but he's not an overly athletic guy. He's physical and he makes shots, man. It's amazing that he started out at Moorhead and then he goes to Auburn and he's had the success that he's had.
I don't know if Auburn's going to win the national title because there are a lot of great teams out there that they're going to have to get through. But I have a feeling Auburn's going to have something to say about who does.
Yeah,
I think they're that good.
They're so deep. I mean, they had guards out the wazoo. They had a guy that didn't miss a 3 in the first half, and then they gave it to Chaney Johnson, who went on a 9-0 run by himself last night in the second half.
Loud. It was.
And they had a lot.
Loud.
They had a lot of
night.
Auburn fans in there.
Yeah, loud.
Also, Florida went to Starkville and handled Mississippi State. All of a sudden, Mississippi State has been slipping and not playing great basketball. The Gators get a win. Alex Condon got hurt last night in that game.
How serious is it?
It's an ankle. I think he rolled his ankle pretty bad. I don't think it's season ending, but you're late in the season, so this is not where you want to get hurt. But I mean, he's their post go-to guy.
What are we hearing about Lamont Butler at Kentucky?
He'll be out. Him and Jackson Robinson going to be out probably for a week or 2, I'd imagine.
Ooh.
So
they're a lot better with him than without him.
Yes,
they are
a lot better.
Yeah.
And he was back to, like when he played against Vandy, he wasn't 100%. But you look at Lamont Butler when he's healthy, man, he impacts that team. He pickpocketed Ziegler a couple of times, got inside the lane. So obviously Kentucky gets the win. Alabama last night, they drop 100 points again. They can score like crazy, 103-80 at Texas, and Texas is reeling now. They're in desperation mode as they try to stay on the bubble. Georgia, meanwhile, another bubble team, they went to College Station and got ripped 69-53. But it's good for Vandy whenever Texas and Georgia lose on the same night.
Yeah.
They're your bubble buddies.
By the way, what was in the second half, A&M outscored Georgia 46-21.
Yep.
Whew.
Wow.
So, there's a scenario. Imagine this at the SEC tournament, whether it's Friday or Saturday, where you could get matchups like Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, Auburn. You think tickets might be a
pretty
pricey?
Well, and
Alabama and Auburn plays this weekend, do they not? They play Saturday.
They sure do.
I think.
And speaking of tickets that are pricey,
wow.
Not going to be able to hide Patty Hearst up there.
Would not want to be an official trying to navigate that physicality.
That's number one and number two. I think the true number one, number two team in the country. I think both of them are
probably a
little bit better than Duke. Duke's still really good.
And that's the first time in SEC history that number one and number two have played in the conference.
Yep.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, you think about it, through most of the SEC, it was Kentucky way up on a pedestal.
And then everybody else.
The second tier, usually way back, was Tennessee or Vandy. And then Alabama under C.M. Newton started to come along. I mean, what we're seeing now, the old people in the league never saw.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what I worry about. As these teams are beating each other up, Bruce Pearl said it to me last night. It's a long season. Byington said it near the end of his press conference that he felt like his team ran out of gas. Listen, I think it all looks good. It sounds good, but I wonder what kind of toll this is taking on these SEC teams.
Well, you're seeing Georgia, Texas, they're kind of going downhill a little bit. For Vandy, they just got to survive. You got to go to Knoxville Saturday. Tonight, number 19 Ole Miss is at South Carolina at 6:00 on the SEC Network. LSU at Arkansas, another chance for Arkansas to stay on the bubble, 8:00 on ESPN2. And then Missouri, number 21 Missouri, hosting Oklahoma, big bubble game for Oklahoma. Tonight's like compared to last night.
Oh, my God, this is single A versus triple A.
You had some other upsets last night around the country. Number 20 Michigan knocked off number 7 Perdue, and Michigan is atop the Big Ten right now. All of a sudden, Indiana, all of a sudden, Mike Woodson gets a win when it doesn't really matter. They beat number 11 Michigan State on the road. K-State pulls off another upset. They beat number 13 Arizona, their second straight top 25 win.
They are the most improved team in the last month in college hoops.
Another team that improved last night, they haven't been great this season. UConn knocked off number 24 Creighton. It was $1 beer night at Creighton, so you can imagine the atmosphere and some of the words Danny Hurley might have said or heard. He had some.
Oh,
some
he
words
probably
to
said
say.
A few too. I mean,
he was mouthing off at the home crowd and walking off the court last night.
Well, first of all, Creighton is one of the great scenes in college basketball. Now, why they felt the need to do dollar beer night? Because I'm telling you, you do dollar beer night, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah,
I don't get that.
College football, Ohio State is finalizing a deal to make Matt Patricia their new defensive coordinator. Where the heck that come from?
Whatever.
Oh, wow.
He'll have a pencil stuck in his ear.
He'll replace Jim Knowles, who left for Penn State.
Well, now, hold on a second. Kelly, you've seen him. He has that pencil in his ear.
And then he became an offensive coordinator. He's been a defensive coordinator forever. And then Belichick made it an offensive coordinator. That was probably the beginning of the end for old Bill. I mean, what are we doing?
How'd that work? How'd that play out?
Gosh.
But they go from Jim Knowles as their DC and Chip Kelly as their OC to Brian Hartline and Matt Patricia.
Brian Hartline will do very well.
But he's never been
I
an
think
OC.
he'll do good.
So what?
Yeah, but see, everybody's got to start somewhere, there, Billy. I mean,
When all else,
everybody has to start at a certain place, and we all, until we get the job, have never done it before.
when all else fails, call the screen.
Call the receiver screen. In the NFL, according to Jordan Schultz, the Jaguars will interview former Titans general manager John Robinson for their open general manager position. He did not get the job with the Jets that he interviewed with earlier this offseason. We'll see. We'll see if he gets the job down in Jacksonville.
Yep.
Be interested to see him in the AFC South again. Also, Travis Kelce, will he play next year? Will he not? He said he'll take some time before deciding on whether he will return for a 13th season. He said on his podcast, I know everybody wants to know whether I'm playing next year or not. I'm just kicking everything down the road. I'm kicking every can I can. I'm not making any crazy decisions right now.
And Kelly, I would think that's the smart thing because 2 or 3 days after the fact, you're beat all to hell. You've just gotten annihilated in a Super Bowl. If you make the decision today, the decision today would be, I don't want to do this again.
Yeah, it's an emotional decision. You don't want to make anything on emotion. So he's, I mean, I don't know. It depends on whether you want to go through all that again. And hey, it's tough. People don't understand. They see all the glamour, but I think that NFL Hard Knocks and all that have kind of showed people like it's not an easy deal, especially when you're king of the mountain. And just what it takes to stay there, you've got to put your body through so much. You got to watch so much film. You got to work out. You got to stay in shape. There's just so much that you have to do, and that's just on the field stuff, like in the building stuff. But he's got a podcast with his brother. He's doing commercials. He's dating one of the most notable people in the world. So like,
Who's
there's
that?
just a lot going on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, George, Merry Christmas. The Braves pitchers and catchers reported for their first workout today in Northport, Florida.
So 6 weeks from today, we will ring the bell. Opening day in the Bigs.
One of the best days of the year.
For me.
For you. The World Series champions odds, another look at those. The Dodgers are at the top at plus 300. Right behind them, your Atlanta Braves.
Screw the Dodgers. Bunch of mercenaries. They've tried to run out and destroy the game by buying all these free agents. What are we doing?
They're doing it.
Let's get a salary cap.
I know we're going to get to this with Mike, but it's one of the biggest questions to start the NASCAR Cup Series. What's the weather forecast for the Daytona 500 on Sunday? 62% chance of rain. So hopefully the rain is not too much to where they have to postpone it or delay it again like they had to do last year. Last year's race was pushed back to Monday.
See, being the big racing fan that I am,
yes,
I have checked the Weather Channel. It doesn't look good.
So George, you've been to a race though before, have you not?
The Daytona 500?
No, not the Daytona 500, just a race in general.
I've been to races. They're okay.
It's an all-day experience.
I mean, look, if you said, okay, you can go to the Indy 500 or you can go to a Braves game, I'll take the Braves game.
Boy, that's a shock.
I'm going to the Indy 500.
No, I get it. And people, look, it's just God made us all different at what our likes or dislikes are. I'm not ripping anybody who loves that. I'm just saying that for me, it just has never really floated my boat.
Well, I went to the Ally 400 3 years ago, I think. I had never been to one. With the group I went with, got there at 7 a.m. and I didn't get home until like 8 o'clock at night.
Right.
Oh, it's an all-day ordeal, and that's what I was going to tell you. There was one race that I went to when I was in the same suite with Bob Huggins. So I met Bob Huggins.
Wow.
And it was an all-day thing because it rained and then it stopped and they started to race again and then it started raining again. So we were literally there. I think the race ended at like 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. It was crazy.
But people, the way people tailgate, they tailgate for like 5 hours before it, and then after the parking lots are full too for another 3 hours. It's insane.
So you're saying it's a big drunk fest?
Pretty much.
Okay, that's lovely. Great sportsmanship. After the break, Mike Organ will join us. We've got an interesting story to get to that involves Nashvillians and Billy Derrick.
This
How about that?
I heard y'all talking about this. I heard you running your mouths before we got on.
Okay, stick around. Mike Organ's in the On Deck Circle, and this is 94.9 The Fan.
New year, new priorities. Family and safety come first. If a car or truck accident disrupts your life, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, experienced, and ready to fight for you. Call 615-242-9000. Happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com. Projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Hey Vandy fans, it's Jake Lyman. Vanderbilt women's basketball is back in action after the bye week, hosting Mississippi State on Thursday. Pre-game at 7:45.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan and the Game Nashville app.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
That is iconic right there. Boston, a little more than a feeling. As we welcome all of you back on kind of a nasty Wednesday afternoon, but that doesn't mean we don't have a good show planned for you. We begin with the hardest working man in Nashville sports. That's Mike Organ from the Tennessean. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good, George. That's two good songs I've been brought into back to back. Oh, What a Feeling was the last one. 2 weeks ago after I missed last week.
Listen, we try to serve all of the public's needs. I got one for you right off the bat that you will never see coming. You ready?
Yeah, a little nervous.
About a month ago, we celebrated the 60th anniversary of the Father Ryan basketball game against Pearl down at the Municipal Auditorium that basically, I guess, was the first integrated high school basketball game in Nashville history.
Yeah, yep.
Here's the part you might not have known, and I did not know until today. Billy's grandfather, who is probably more well known as a legendary Father Ryan football coach, was Father Ryan's basketball coach that night.
I absolutely did know that because I celebrated the 50th anniversary of the game at Municipal Auditorium, where they brought back all the players and coaches from both teams. And Coach Derrick was still alive and doing well at the time. And he came out with his players, and we celebrated the 50th anniversary. So that would have been 10 years ago. I don't know that I knew that before that night, because my dealings with Coach Derrick, which shows his versatility, were always in football. When I started at Tennessean, he was the football coach at Hendersonville and had a great football team up there. And so I knew he had a background at Father Ryan at that time, but I did not know he was such a good and coach and such a big part of history until that night that we celebrated the 50th anniversary.
Billy, what do you know about it?
Well, I remember hearing stories about how many people there were at that game and how big of a draw it was. About 8,300 people piled into Municipal Auditorium.
And that's about what it holds.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like right on the button.
Yeah. And it was the largest crowd ever for a regular season, especially a high school regular season game. But, Father Ryan actually won at the buzzer, but I mean, the talent on that team, too. Father Ryan had Willie Brown on the team. I forget who was on the Pearl team, Mike, but obviously they had a ton of talent. And
Perry Wallace. Perry Wallace was on that team.
Yep. Perry Wallace, of course. But before the game, I always heard the story of warming up. The Father Ryan players are, knocking down their layups, but Pearl's on the other side, throwing down dunks. And, Father Ryan, of course, didn't have a good feeling after that. But I just remember hearing stories about how big of an event it was, and that, nothing will ever top that, especially with, it was just so meaningful, in the moment in history, 1965.
So, Mike, who else was on that Pearl team?
Oh, wow, George. Let me think. I know Walter Fisher was on that team.
Was Ted McLean?
Yes, Lester McLean was on that team. Yep. So that was the three better players, but all five were good. And as Billy mentioned, the dunks, all five could dunk. All five starters could dunk. And that was before the silly rules made about no dunking in layups. You remember that, George, where you couldn't dunk in layups in high school and college for a long time?
Oh, sure. And a lot of that stuff was aimed at Lou Alcindor.
Oh, was it really? I never knew that.
Yeah, eventually the dunk was outlawed in college because of Lou Alcindor.
Yeah.
And in fact, there is if you go back, God, this has now been 51 years ago, a Vanderbilt SEC title team played Marquette down in Tuscaloosa, and one of the big controversies of that game that Marquette won was that Bo Ellis illegally dunked and the officials allowed it.
Wow. Wow. I never knew that because, I mean, Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he could dunk without leaving his feet. So, yeah, I could see the advantage there.
So, it's hard for us, and it's probably hard for a younger audience to really get the full significance. But, you know, you're talking mid-60s. The South is an absolute, you know, powder keg waiting to explode. And for two coaches to get together privately and agree that they're going to break, you know, the color barrier, that took some you-know-what.
Yeah, and the other coach, of course, was Cornelius Ridley, who's absolutely a legendary legend in Nashville, just like Coach Derek was. But I named recently the all-time greatest high school team from Nashville, and it was the top 15 players, and going back to 1960, and Cornelius was the coach on that team.
Wow, that's some great history. Go ahead,
I'm
Mike.
trying to look. I was trying to look to see if I could find the rest of the players, and it's not coming up here. But it was Billy mentioned that it was a record for a high school game in Municipal Auditorium, and that's saying something because every year district tournaments and regional tournaments were played at Municipal Auditorium. So there had been a lot of high school games played up until then.
Wow.
Yeah, some of the last name: Perry Wallace, Dempsey, McLean, and Fort. I don't know if that rings any bells there, Mike.
Yeah, well, of course, Perry, you know, one of the greatest to ever come out of Nashville, and also became the first black player in the SEC at Vanderbilt. And, you know, George mentioned what a powder keg the South was at that time, and Perry found out that it was a lot worse even outside of Nashville when he would go to Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Louisiana, Georgia, some other schools. And he was in for a shock because he thought it was, you know, he knew it was bad in Nashville, but he didn't know it was even worse outside of Nashville.
Mike, give us a little bit of, I guess I'm going to ask a stupid question. And this comes from somebody who knows a little bit of auto racing, just enough to be dangerous. Yeah. But can you imagine if the NFL opened the season with their single biggest game, the Super Bowl? That's kind of what auto racing does.
It absolutely is. And I was with a IndyCar driver last Thursday, Joseph Newgarden, who's won the last two Indy 500s, and Josh Berry, who was a NASCAR Cup driver from Hendersonville. They actually went to middle school together in Hendersonville at Ellis Middle School, which used to be Hendersonville High School. So we got them back together last Thursday, and we walked the halls of Ellis Middle School, and they went back to the gym and all kinds of stuff. But that was one of my questions. I asked each of them, you know, would you like, I asked Joseph, I said, would you like for the Indy 500 to be the first race of the season instead of right at midseason, which is when their Super Bowl is, the Indy 500? And then I asked Josh the same thing. Would you not rather your Super Bowl be either at midseason or the end, you know, because they have a playoff in NASCAR, and you would think they'd want their biggest race at the end, but it is so unique. It has stood the test of time. It's a spectacle every year, the Daytona 500, and there's never been any mention of moving it or anything like that because it's so successful. But it is so strange that you start the season off with your biggest race, and then you kind of work your way down.
Mike,
but
how do you think it started out that way?
I have no idea. I don't go back that far in NASCAR. I don't have, you know, my history in NASCAR starts around 2000 when I replaced Larry Woody. I didn't replace him. I filled his place after he retired. And so I don't know how it came about. That's a great question for your callers or whoever. I just, you know, I think it was just such a big deal that people were waiting on the season to start that they said, let's just start with our biggest. And, you know, I do believe that the playoffs were brought in to keep it from just kind of winding down at the end of the year. That way you still have something to look forward to now with the playoffs, you know, with the top 16 drivers making a 4-round playoff. So it gives you something big to start the season and something big to end the season. And that makes NASCAR unique because, we don't have that in any other sport. The other sports just start with game one. And, of course, an NFL is big enough for that first game to be that. And Major League Baseball opening day is big. I think that hockey and basketball, NBA basketball, could both use something like that because they kind of start and we don't really recognize it, albeit they start during the football season, so that's overshadowed. But I think that those two sports could benefit from something like that.
Yeah, we're talking with Mike Organ from the Tennessean. Kelly, your witness.
Well, first of all, Mike, how did the meeting go? I'm sure y'all signed me up for something that I probably don't want to do. So, what did y'all sign me up for?
You're emceeing.
We went through a list of all the athletes that have not gone and got their suits measured for their tuxedos, and you got, I think, 11 out of the 12 or 12 out of the 13, something like that. But
I'm sure I probably do. It's crazy. I'll have to get on that. That's just coaches just don't want to do it. That's what I try to tell you all the time. Hey, so Mike, tell me that
one before the banquet.
Yeah, that's not good. So hopefully I get that done. I'll have to send out a message here. But tell me this, since we're talking about racing, tell us a little bit about what's going on with the Music City Grand Prix coming up in the future. Because last year it was like all over the place. They didn't know what was going to happen with all the construction downtown. What's going to happen with that in the future?
Well, Kelly, it moved from downtown because of the Titans building a new football stadium. At first, they were going to try to run it around all that construction down there, and they went ahead and set a date and said, we're keeping it downtown. They looked closer, and they said, no, we can't do this. So they moved it. Fortunately, they had a super speedway for NASCAR, in Gladeville. So they just moved it out there. And a lot of people said, well, it's not a Grand Prix anymore because people associate Grand Prix with road race. In fact, Grand Prix can still be an oval, and it is. So it kept the name. Okay, two things I've learned recently are that, when they moved out there, they said, we're going to move out here because it was so wildly popular downtown. They said, we're going to move out here, and then after the Titans Stadium is built in 2027, we'll come back in 2028 and go back downtown. At least by 2029, but our intention is to go back downtown. Well, I have come to find out that they really, the circuit, IndyCar and Penske, need more ovals on the circuit, and this may be it. There's a good chance that this race is going to stay at the Nashville Super Speedway and remain an oval. If it does, it did well. It did really well last year as far as attendance, TV ratings, and everything else. Race was fantastic with a Nashville resident winning. Joseph Newgarden finishing third. A very good race. So everything went so well last year that it's my feeling at this point that it's going to stay up there. I know, obviously it's going to be there this year. It serves, we were just talking about the biggest races. It serves as a championship race. It's the final race of the season. Now, of course, if someone's already secured the championship by the end, according to the point standings, then it won't be the championship, but it will be. It is the finale, the final race of the season. So that's two things. That's a little bit of news there that I just don't think it's going to go back downtown. And the second thing is that Penske recently took it over, which is a very good sign because when it moved, it was a Big Machine took it over and served as the sponsor and kind of ran the race. And that was just kind of a haphazard thing that had to happen to make it work last year. And the fact that Penske is so interested in it and wants it to work, that Penske took it over, the operational part. Big Machine will remain the title sponsor and handle entertainment for the event because they have a lot of concerts and other things that go on around it because it's a 3-day event. And so Big Machine will continue to do that. But as far as the operational part, Penske has taken that over. They've named the president of the race, and I can't remember her name right now, but she's moving down here to run it from here for Penske. And that's a good sign that Penske's so interested in the race that they'd want to take over the operational part of it, because Big Machine didn't want to. They didn't want that part of it. They just did it last year because out of need. But going forward, Penske's going to be in charge of it, which is a good sign.
So Mike, staying with that, I didn't know I was going to go this way, but staying with that, how many people does that Gladeville racetrack hold? And is there, since IndyCar might be going there permanently, is there any talks about expanding the seating?
Well, NASCAR has talked about expanding the seating because it seats, I want to say 15 to 20, but then they bring in temporary seating where they bring in, without any problem at all, they bring in bleacher seating on either side, which gets it up to 25,000. They can do that overnight. That's no problem at all to get it to 25. And they've drawn that for all but one of the 5 NASCAR races that have been there. The one that didn't, I think, was the one that was rain delayed, and rain was in the forecast, and they didn't finish till about 7 or 8 o'clock that night. But it's been capacity crowd every year. So every year we ask them, are you going to expand? Now we're talking NASCAR again, and they say, it's a delicate balance. We want it to be a tough ticket, and right now it is, and they don't feel like they turn too many people away with it at 25. And so kind of the feeling amongst the media is that they might go to 30 or 35, which they could still do with just a little bit of construction. And that the same would go for IndyCar. Now, last year they didn't feel it, but they sure came close, Kelly. I stepped out at one point, and I thought it was full. I think the official attendance was around 20 or 22, something like that. And so I think they could easily fill it for IndyCar. And I think IndyCar will I know IndyCar will just go along with whatever NASCAR does, because first and foremost, it's a NASCAR track. And it's it's owned by Bristol, SMI, and it'll determine what they do. But if there's a need to expand, then Bristol obviously will expand it to get more butts in the seats, and they won't worry about making it a tough ticket going forward, because the first and foremost thing will be make a little bit more money.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Matt Cruz, which is a former middle guy, he was the one that started that Music City Grand Prix. So now that Penske's taking it over, did he have to buy it from Matt Cruz? And can you see a scenario where IndyCar stays at Gladeville and then they have another race downtown again?
That's a good question. And Matt stepped away from it when it moved from downtown. And
okay.
Scott Borchetta took over as the general manager. One day we just got a release that said, I want to say it was in the spring last year, we all received a release that said Scott Borchetta has become first of all, it said the Music City Grand Prix will move to the Nashville Super Speedway for 2024. And Scott Borchetta, who is the head of CEO of Big Machine, is now the race's GM. And that's all it said. And, of course, I've talked to Matt since then, and because I covered Matt when you guys were at MTSU. So I've known Matt for a long time. And Matt got into some more stuff overseas in Europe, some racing over there. So I don't think it was any kind of volatile takeover or anything like that. But anyway, so that's where Matt is. Now, Matt is also that creative and that bold that I could see him trying something like that. Absolutely. Either with IndyCar or some other, race team to bring back a Grand Prix downtown, a road race downtown. Yeah. Matt better than I do, and that he'll do what he's willing to step out on a limb, and that's a great. I hadn't even thought about that, to be honest, Kelly, but I could see Matt doing something like that, and if not with IndyCar, maybe another type of open wheel racing.
George, I'm good.
Okay. You know what? I'm good as well. Mike, you are you're just a fountain of info.
Fountain.
Well, I make most of it up, so don't give me that much credit.
Well,
Make it till you make it. That's what they always say.
And I think that goes along.
There you go.
It goes along with the motto that I established years ago. Don't let facts get in the way of a good story.
Absolutely. Never been accused of that.
Thanks as always. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. See you later.
Mike Organ, hardest working man in Nashville sports, joining us on the show at 4:00 today. The tallest person to be a part of the show. Former Vanderbilt All-American, former Chicago Bull, Will Perdue from, I'm guessing, up in Chicago. I honestly don't know where he is, but he will join us. That's never dull. Stick around. This is 94.9 The Fan. This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
As we step into the new year, there's nothing more important than family and safety. If a car wreck or big truck accident turns your world upside down, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, we're experienced, and we're ready to fight for what you deserve. Call us anytime at 615-242-9000. Really wishing you a safe and happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com. Are you concerned about the Medicare Part D changes for 2025? Believe me, you're not alone. You need to contact Pancos Benefits. They'll make the changes clear and easy to understand. Trust Pancos to guide you through it all. Their knowledgeable team is here to help you understand the updates and make informed decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancos Benefits today at 615-292-3400 and choose option 3, or visit pancosbenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Living in an era where perfection is necessary.
They thought they were a championship contending team.
Here, we told you not to do this. Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Did either of you guys see what Carl Ravitch said during the Alabama-Texas game last night late?
No.
Okay.
I have no idea.
I was watching the game, but I did not see it.
Okay, well, it was late.
You were drugged.
I was asleep by the end of the game, that's for sure.
Okay,
How bad?
so
How bad did they end up winning, Billy? Sorry, I know I'm messing you.
103-80.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but obviously there's SEC. Here's how good the SEC is. With about a minute to play in the game, Carl Ravitch says, since January 4th into Tuesday, the SEC teams are 82-82. There's no dominant group of teams. That's since the beginning of SEC play. Hey, Carl Ravitch, I've got news for you. Every conference
that has to be
has a 500 record. I don't know what he thought he was trying to say. Maybe he thought non-conference play was
How much grief has he caught?
A lot on Twitter.
Has he?
Yes.
Any you can read us?
Well, somebody said, please tell me Carl Ravitch was in on this as a bit. No way ESPN fell for this, right? I mean, number one, he's a baseball guy, but also...
Well, now, hold on. That doesn't necessarily mean anything.
He's getting out there, though, is the whole thing. He's becoming more of a Mr. Kind of do everything. And I think we've frozen. I haven't. You guys have.
Hey, Vandy fans, it's Jay Clyman. Vanderbilt women's basketball is back in action after the bye week, hosting Mississippi State on Thursday. Pre-game at 7:45.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan and the Game Nashville app.
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
So this is George Plaster, and I'm on by phone. Here's what happened. We had a power outage here at the Fort Ice Center in Bellevue. The generators kicked in, and now we're trying to get ourselves back up, ready and raring to go. And so basically I'm just babbling to babble at the moment with really not much to tell you other than the power is back on here by way of the generator, and we should be back on in the normal way that you should be on. here in just a couple of minutes. When that happens, we will go to Stat of the Day, and then our buddy and former Vanderbilt All-American Will Perdue will join us, and we got a lot of stuff to get into with him because he keeps up very closely with what's going on around the Southeastern Conference. So I guess I don't really know what it is I'm supposed to tell you other than maybe we go ahead and go to a commercial break, and then hopefully we'll be back up the normal way, the right way, the way we want to do it after that commercial break. So that is the plan for the moment. I feel like I'm in one of these rain delay things in baseball where they use the term time only has been called. This is 94.9, The Fan.
Hit after hit.
All right, we're good.
In Tennessee, they have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several iron mic pitching machines as well as a hit tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client in every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them for consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
The George Plaster Show gets advertisers the results they're looking for. For example, here's Metro Nashville Police Officer Garen Hoskins.
You hear me all the time on the show talk about changes in career, people looking to serve their community and get into law enforcement and join a great department. And I just so happened to meet an individual who heard my segment on your show, has already applied, has come from multiple different career paths, and has always had this dream. And we're very glad to have them. That's just going to be the start of many.
If you want to be part of the Plaster Show advertising family, it's simple. Just email me, plastergeorge@gmail.com. Again, plastergeorge@gmail.com. We will fit your budget and your needs.
Earlier on Clinton and Friends. This guy, Aaron Rodgers, I don't care how great he's been. This guy's been nothing but an A1 headache to the Jets since he got there. Like, of course you're moving on. This was a bad idea from the jump. This never should have happened, as proven by the fact that your body let you down, and even when it didn't, you just didn't have what you once had. It's okay. Hey. You miss Clinton and Friends? Walrus, extremely important. Why do people call you Walrus?
I was listening when I was a kid to the Beatles song, I Am the Walrus, for probably an hour. No chemicals involved. I love taking a good nap. I'm a mysterious person, so it's kind of my spirit animal.
Yes! Excellent phone call. That's the standard of phone call we need on this program, y'all. Clinton and Friends, weekdays from 10 to noon Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan. A Cromwell media station.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Yeah, well, Perdue, four-time NBA champion, former Vanderbilt star as well, coming up, talking a little college basketball, probably a few other topics. But first, stat of the day brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. You can find them in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. Give them a call, 615-754-9800, or log on to applecollisioncenters.com. All right, here's what we've got for today. We're going with some more college basketball. Liam McNeely of UConn is one of 3 Division I freshmen in the last 20 years to have 30-plus points, 10-plus rebounds, and 5-plus threes made in a road game. Can you name the other 2? A little hint, 2 of the best NBA players currently.
Oh, good Lord. So I happened to catch part of his performance last night, and he was incredible. And obviously, with that dollar beer night thing at Creighton, which was a stupid idea, you go dollar beer night, you're asking for trouble. And so not only was Dan Hurley mouthing off at him, but this kid was as well, and seemed to take great pleasure in basically hitting the 2 free throws at the end that cinched it. This is me stalling around because, Kelly, I don't know.
Stall more, George, please.
You know what we should do? We should dump this one in Will Perdue's lap.
I agree with that.
Okay, let's bring him up. Will, hello. Nice to have you join us.
George, I don't know the freaking answer. That's your job.
We don't either. Okay, hold on a second. 2 of the best NBA players currently. Okay, let's go with Jason Tatum as one of them. At Duke.
Yeah, you only played 1 year at Duke, so that's probably a good answer.
Okay, let's think through. I don't think it's Victor, Mr. whatever, Wembanyama.
No, it's not Giannis. It's not Luka. It's not LeBron. It's
no.
It's not Jokic. They're all Europeans except for LeBron.
Anthony Davis probably wouldn't have hit 5 threes in a game, would he?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, probably not.
Go ahead and show us what it is.
Steph Curry and Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant.
Oh,
there you go.
Wow, how about that?
I don't like the question at all.
Yeah, I think it's pretty
brutal. Damn good question. We're just idiots.
Well, I mean, that may be true, but, you know, here you are having played the game, having, you know, been involved in NBA telecasts and college telecasts, and you didn't have a clue either. This was a very difficult
I'm at the point now where I'm starting to forget stuff.
Well, it does happen. Because
right now I got a piece of paper in front of me that says you're talking with George.
Yeah, that's bad. You realize, Will, you and I first met up 42 years ago. How's that make you feel?
I know exactly when that was, George. I mean, that's how memorable that first meeting was. It was Steve Reese, Byron Ball, me, Glenn Clem, and David Joyner doing an interview because you were on TV back then.
I was doing CM's television show. It was not a particularly well put together deal.
Well, you were host, producer, fundraiser. You did a little bit of it all. But yeah, we were sitting where you come out of the door from the locker room. We sat on that ledge right there, and you sat in one of the chairs and did a little Q&A.
Oh, wow.
See?
Good Lord, even I don't remember that.
Oh, man. Come on now, George.
Moving right
I
along.
looked at you and said, "Does this guy even graduated from college yet? Who is this guy?"
Well, you got to understand that George is 75 already. So, I mean,
No,
he
I'm
is going
not
to start
75.
forgetting things.
I am not 75, and I'll let you know when I am. Okay?
You're close.
You just stay out of
George
it.
isn't even old enough to collect Social Security yet.
Yeah. Thank you.
He's close, though. I promise.
So on to serious things for a second. Will, I've got a theory, and I want to know what you think about it. Both coaches last night in the game here brought up stuff about the season. Bruce Pearl at one point, to a question I asked him, said, man, this is a long season. Mark Byington at one point in his comments said, you know, it felt like we ran out of gas late. Do you think the toll of all of these teams have got these 6-game stretches where they might as well be playing the Lakers and the Bulls and the San Antonio Spurs? Do you think it's gone too far?
I don't know if it's gone too far, George, but I think what we're forgetting here is that the emotional and mental toll that these games take on players. You know, we always focus on the physical aspect. Like you have guys in the NBA that, you know, do not play games because they need rest. You know, like, for example, I got Alabama and Tennessee March 1st in Knoxville, but, you know, I'm looking at their schedule, and Bama just had Arkansas and Texas, but now they got 4 straight games of Auburn, Missouri, Kentucky, Mississippi State before they played Tennessee, all ranked opponents. Tennessee, they got just finished up with Missouri, Oklahoma, lost to Kentucky last night. They got Vandy, Texas A&M, LSU. Now you would say, okay, they should be a little fresher than Bama, plus they're hosting. But I think what people forget, again, the mental and emotional toll that these games take on you because of the fact, for example, Vanderbilt, who's kind of on the bubble, right? And every time you lose, that affects, you know, that makes things just a little more difficult for you to get into the tournament. You know, you're obviously trying to put yourself in a position to have the best best seed possible. It's what did something about last night, they were talking about it during the game, that did Arkansas win last night? I can't remember.
Arkansas plays tonight.
Yeah, tonight.
If they win tonight, what's his name said there's a possibility that if the NCAA tournament started this weekend, you'd have 14 SEC teams in the tournament. That's unheard of.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
And I think it's something that the league needs to look at, because it's just, I think think about this. How many years ago was it where the league was a bottom feeder? ACC was the best league, then the Big Ten, then the Pac-12, then the Big 12. Vanderbilt was kind of not Vanderbilt. The SEC was kind of floundering in basketball.
Sure.
Look how they turned the tables, and it started with the coaches. The quality of coaches went through the roof. And then not only that, with the coaches come the players. And now all of a sudden, and I said this, you know, when Texas and Oklahoma came into the league, I know Texas and Oklahoma aren't that good right now, but they will be. It's going to have just as big an impact on basketball as it is football. Is there a better football or basketball conference in the country right now than the SEC? No way.
So, Will, what does this do in the coaching world? And here's where I'm going with this. When you were a player on the college level, C.M. Newton's task was the next game, which assistant coach had him scouted, blah, blah, blah. Now, whoever a coach is sitting in that seat not only is having to do all that, but he's having to sit around and go, okay, I may have to get 5 new ones next year to start and a roster of 8 or 9 new ones, period. How in the world are these coaches doing that?
Smoke and mirrors. I'm not kidding. You think about this. Byington brought in 12 new players. 12. I think that number's correct. But you can't, I remember talking to Byington, you know, in the summer after they'd already signed all those guys. And he's like, listen, I can't do this, man. I'll kill myself. And I don't mean
Yeah, if I have to do this every year.
He said, if I have to do this every year, it's physically impossible. Because he went through about a 6 to 8 week window where he was just like, he says, listen, man, I work every night till midnight. I go to bed and I get up at 5 a.m. I don't prefer to do that, but I have to. Because by 5:15 a.m., my phone's ringing. It's players, it's agents, it's somebody that needs something that I, the coach, need to handle. I can't push it off on an assistant. I can't push it off on my assistant. You know, it's just something that he felt necessary. And there's Rick Barnes is the same way. They're all like this. There's a reason why you're seeing a lot of these older, more established coaches retire, because it's not about basketball. That's the last thing on the list. And that's what these guys were doing. They were basketball coaches. Now they're general managers, they're agents, they're negotiating contracts. You got to continue to expand the staffs at all the universities to be able to handle all this. So there's going to be considerable burnout amongst these coaches. But at the same time, you're curious if the SEC continues to stay this strong. I know where you're going with this. How many coaches, when coaching jobs become vacant in lesser conferences but are still Power 5 conferences that have automatic bids to the NCAA tournament, become more attractive? I mean, quite honestly, George, how attractive is that Virginia job right now compared to a school in the SEC?
Well, first of all, and Billy, go ahead and put this up here, because I believe, although I have no proof of this, that Virginia is going to offer Mark Byington their head coaching job at the end of the season. He's got Virginia ties. He was once on their staff in the mid-2000s. He's done extremely well here. They know him from James Madison. And so, yes, if you put a gun to my head, do I believe that Virginia is going to offer him their job? Absolutely. I believe that. Again, I don't have proof of it, but I didn't just fall off a turnip truck, even though Kelly thinks I did. You know, I've got some basis for belief of that. So let me try it this way, Will. On the SEC level, because Bruce Pearl kind of got around to this last night in his praising of Byington at the end of the press conference. He said it also appears that Vanderbilt has made some level of commitment to NIL. And so I'm asking you, on the SEC level, how many dollars does the head basketball coach need in NIL to be competitive?
To be competitive or to win? There's a difference, George.
Okay,
I mean,
well,
being competitive is what you saw last night. That was a very competitive game, but the better team just won. But being competitive and winning is two different things. To be competitive, you need $2 to $3 million. But if you want to consistently win, you probably need $5.
Okay, so if I'm right that he gets offered the Virginia job, this is going to come up unless he just simply says, man, all my ties are to Virginia. This is the job I always wanted. I'm out of here. If it doesn't, then you get down to he's got the leverage. He's become highly popular here very quickly. And Helen Keller could figure out this guy knows how to coach. So what number does he need to win at Vandy, to be a 2 or 3 out of every 5 years, go to the NCAA tournament competitive?
Did you say 2 out of every 5? They should be going every year, George. Come on now.
Right. I mean, you say that, and I want to believe that, but the truth of it is past history does not indicate that.
No, that you are correct. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But, I mean, if a school like Virginia can actually win the national title and can continue to do what they do year after year after year, and, you know, Michigan, people forget how good of an academic school Michigan really is. They're now back into the top 20, right? So I think realistically, men's basketball should be going to the NCAA tournament 4 out of every 5, 8 out of every 10 years. Every once in a while, you're going to have a down year and you go to the NIT. But never, ever should a Vanderbilt basketball team, men's or women's, not be able to play in some type of postseason tournament, whether it be NCAA or NIT. And I think that should be the goal moving forward. So how do you do that? Even though you talk about Byington being from Virginia, going to VCU, the whole thing, where he grew up, high school, college, all that stuff. First question of any coach is going to ask the athletic director, how much money do you have in your collective? How much money do you have in NIL? Because the one thing we're going to find out real quick is that revenue share is not going to be enough money, okay? Because right now you're looking at $20.5 million. Just do the numbers real quick, George. The total pie at the moment, and who knows what we're going to get to by the time July 1st gets here, right?
Yeah, and this is what is being negotiated right now through the court system.
Right, but also remember the U.S. Department of Education now just stepped up this morning and said that the rule that the Biden administration just passed about Title IX no longer applies to revenue share, meaning you don't have to divide it equally amongst men's and women's sports. Regardless of how you feel about that, it's just that's reality, okay? So let's just say the number that's being thrown out there from all these different court cases, and every team has said they'll abide by what the SEC tells them to do. There's $20.5 million in the pot right now. Okay. Vanderbilt's going to take $2.5 million of that and apply it to scholarships so that they become Title IX compliant in regards to scholarships. Okay. Male and female. All right. So that gives you $18 million.
Right.
For revenue share. Well, football is going to get 75% of that. Men's basketball is supposed to get 15% of that. So if you take that, that's $2.7 million. That right there, as you pointed out, that $2.7 million of revenue share, that'll get you competitive, but that'll also get you in the NIT every year. Now, to actually be able to win consistently, you're going to need probably $5 million. So where's that other $2.3 million coming from? That's why collectives aren't going away.
What do you think they spent on this roster?
Well, I'd say probably around $3 million. And that's the thing. Once you start winning, just like Clark Lee's dealing with in football, once you start winning, the price goes up. Diego Pavia cost you a lot more money than what he got when he came from New Mexico State. The offensive linemen, the tight ends, the wide receivers, the tailbacks, the defensive linemen. Everybody wants more money because now you're coming from a winning program, right? I understand it's only 1 year, but that's how it works, right? You fulfill your obligation, you get a pay raise, just like in the real world. I know NIL's not real world, but technically it is. It's all about economics, supply and demand. So Vanderbilt and the Anchor Impact has got to raise at least $2.3 million. Because think about it, that kid, the number one recruit in the country, that kid went to BYU. He got $7 million. $7 million. Not over 3 or 4 years, for 1 year.
Yeah, it's scary.
And that's the other thing, George. People, think about this. Remember, Hogard, he called Byington. He reached out to Mark and asked about coming to Vanderbilt because, remember, VCU went into Michigan State last year, beat Michigan State, and he saw the offense that Mark ran and wanted to be a part of it. And all of a sudden, Mark had to scramble to find money to pay A.J. Hogard because, remember, that was a late signing. And what if that happens this year? Hogard's gone, but somebody that's of that quality. Now, unfortunately, Hogard at the moment hasn't played up to his contract or his ability, in my opinion. But, he needs to if we're going to continue to get better and make it to the NCAA tournament. But what if somebody of his quality calls Mark next for this upcoming season and a guy that can make the difference between NIT and NCAA and says, hey, I'll come for $1 million. And all of a sudden you've already paid out $4.5 million. So there's always got to be a little surplus, right? Just like a homeowner, got to have an emergency fund in case the hot water heater blows up or the air conditioner, or in this case, I'm getting ready to go out and shovel snow when I finish talking to you. You know, your furnace goes out. You better have a little money in the kitty or you're in trouble. And that's the thing. There's just, at this point, quite honestly, there's just never enough.
So, Will, real quickly before I go to the break, and then I'm going to turn it to Kelly Holcomb after the break. So you've got Virginia that is guaranteed to be open, Indiana that's now guaranteed to be open, and North Carolina, who we think will be open. Those are three massive blue bloods that appear that we know early in February. Do you believe any of those three end up offering Byington?
Well, I don't know if they offer, but he's on their list. I can promise you that. The question is he interested in them? Because at the end of the day, maybe he's not, but then he uses that as leverage to get a new contract. And just remember now, we just got Mark Carter just endowed a coach's scholarship, technically per se, coaches, so that shouldn't be a problem to up not only his salary, but also the salary of all his assistants. Because that's the other thing, George, I think that some people forget, okay? We live in – Vanderbilt's in Nashville, all right? All the other schools in the SEC are not. So you can't sit here and say that, well, we only have to pay the same amount as Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Georgia, LSU, Missouri. No, we have to pay our coaches more because of the cost of living to live in Nashville, okay? Otherwise, your assistant coaches, I mean, this is nothing against Gallatin, but your assistant coaches are going to be living out in Gallatin because that's the only place they can afford to buy a house. So next thing you know, your coaching staff's commuting 90 minutes each direction because, you know, you have to take care of these coaches and the cost of living. It's just, I understand Vanderbilt's a private institution, but they already did a $3 billion raise so they can get the money. The question is, how bad do they truly want to compete in the SEC? And I've always maintained, if you want to be part of the SEC, you need to be able to compete in the SEC, not just a member of the SEC and not just collect that big fat check, which this year I think was $53.5 million.
Will, hang with me after the break. Kelly Holcomb will take over. You'll get more intelligent questions. Interesting dialogue with my buddy Will Perdue. It'll continue on 94.9 The Fan.
New year, new priorities. Family and safety come first. If a car or truck accident disrupts your life, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, experienced, and ready to fight for you. Call 615-242-9000. Happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Here's Officer Garen Hoskins for the Metro Nashville Police Department.
The Metro Nashville Police Department is on the forefront of policing in this century, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I get to find other good officers, other future good officers. And if you're watching today, or you yourself or someone you happen to know is interested, join MNPD.com. Feel free to reach out to us because we need good officers, and it's a great city to work for.
Are you concerned about the Medicare Part D changes for 2025? Believe me, you're not alone. You need to contact Pancoast Benefits. They'll make the changes clear and easy to understand. Trust Pancoast to guide you through it all. Their knowledgeable team is here to help you understand the updates and make informed decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancoast Benefits today at 615-292-3030. 3400 and choose option 3, or visit PancosBenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3. Their knowledgeable team is here to help you understand the updates and make informed decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancos Benefits today at 615-292-3400 and choose option 3, or visit PancosBenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3.
Vandy fans, it's Jay Climate. Vanderbilt women's basketball is back in action after the bye week, hosting Mississippi State on Thursday. Pregame at 7:45.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan and the Game Nashville app.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Vanderbilt Will Perdue is with us from snowy Chicago by way of phone. Kelly, it's time for you to take over. Go.
So, Will, you talked about it earlier, but you talked about Mark Byington staying up at nighttime. Now you've got to not only, you got to coach your kids, but now you got to keep your kids in all this world of the transfer portal. The NIL, they've let out of the bag. So I don't know what you can do with that. But transfer portal, do you think these guys, the NCAA, will go back at some point and say, hey, this has kind of gotten out of hand because you can transfer every year now. If you just don't like the coach or you want more money, you can transfer every year. Do you think they'll go back at some point and say, hey, you get 1 year to transfer, and then if you transfer after that, you're going to have to set out a year? Or will they do something with the transfer rule?
Well, the problem is, I think, as you just pointed out, how do you put that genie back in the bottle? Okay. Right. Because now you've let it out. I know initially this was, COVID, and now you're done with COVID years, and now you're back to guys being able to play 4 years and not 5 years. So, I don't know if there's any other changes to be made, but I think the problem is, and this is what I agree with, is coaches can leave at any time. Like what is the majority of our conversation has been about the possibility of Byington leaving at the end of the year because the number of colleges that are going to come after him. So if the coaches can leave, so should the players. But there's got to be something done with this NIL situation because, you see it all the time that offensive lineman from Alabama signed with Nebraska or somebody, got his NIL money and then turned around and left and never played it down for him. I don't think he gave that money back. There's got to be something done for that. You have to provide services for the money that you're getting in regards to NIL, and you shouldn't just be able to get free money. So there's got to be some adjustments because I think we've swung too far to one side. There's got to be some medium happy ground somewhere. I'm just not sure where it is.
So Greg Sankey a couple of years ago, he wanted to obviously upgrade SEC basketball and upgrade coaching, and he has done a great job at that. And now, it's kind of, and you even talked about it, it's kind of considered a football league. But you look at the basketball now, George said it earlier, it used to be Kentucky and then everybody else. There was another tier, and then there was everybody else. Well, now the SEC, are you surprised that the SEC has gotten as good as it's gotten? Because they've got 4 in the new AP poll. 4 of the top 5 teams are from the SEC. Has that surprised you or not really?
No, it hasn't, because, that's the thing. It's kind of been cyclical. What we haven't been able to do as far as the league is be good in basketball from top to bottom consistently. It's always been pretty top heavy, right? And what you're seeing now is just the quality of the teams from top to bottom and the gauntlet you have to face every single night. I mean, even Vanderbilt, they just had to play number 1 Auburn. Guess who their next 2 games against? Tennessee and Kentucky. I mean, you can't take a night off. I mean, this goes back to, I remember when I was playing in the 80s. You tried to win every non-conference game, and then you hoped to go 500 in the conference, and that guaranteed you were getting an NCAA tournament. That's kind of where you are now. But there's going to be a lot of teams, SEC teams this year, that are not 500 in the conference and still make the NCAA tournament because the number of quad one games that they play.
Okay, so this is my last question, Will. So we earlier talked about blue bloods, and I remember when I was growing up, it was always Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, teams around the country. Indiana, I remember Indiana winning 2 national championships. But with this NIL stuff and the transfer portal, is that going to be a little different now? Because I think you're seeing teams that can get better in 1 year, and my contention is, I don't think kids care about blue bloods anymore. I just think they care about getting paid. So are we seeing a changing landscape with that?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. There are those, like, I think the kid's name at Kentucky. There's a kid at Kentucky that's from Kentucky that went to Kentucky, and he's not playing. I think his last name is Perry.
He's playing. He's actually playing a little bit now. Yeah,
but he's not playing as much as he would at other schools. I think, just from I lived in Louisville for a long time. Just from some friends that I have, former coaches down there, that he went to Kentucky because that's how he grew up. Right? Kentucky was the place to be if you were born and raised in Kentucky and played basketball in Kentucky. Just ask Rex Chapman. But there's very few of those guys. I think now it's number one, I need to get paid. How much are you going to pay me? And number two, how quickly can you help me get to the next level, which is the league? I think those are the 2 most important things for any player now.
Well, appreciate you taking the time. Can Vanderbilt get in the tournament with just 7 SEC wins, or do you think they've got to get to 8 in the regular season?
Well, if they only have 7, Billy, I think they better hope that Arkansas doesn't kind of go on a little streak here and win a couple games, because then they're in trouble. But if they get to 8, I think 8 guarantees. So that's the big thing right now. You're 17-8. You got to beat Ole Miss. You got to beat Arkansas. You got to beat Georgia, right? And that gives you 8 wins. Is that right? Or are they 4?
They're
what's
5.
What's the SEC record?
5-6 right now.
5-6. So if you win those 3 games, I think you're getting in the NCAA tournament, because that's now you're 8-10, and I think that gets you in. But I mean, do you want to have your whole season resting on a game at Georgia against probably one of the best freshmen in the country? So it's kind of interesting. It, like George said, it's just every single night your future relies on how well you play. Listen, we knew this Auburn game was kind of like an outlier. I don't want to say, when George and I were talking, he used the term, this is a freebie. But you know what? Vanderbilt played pretty well. But at the end of the day, the better team won. And you saw it on the floor. But every good team has a bad night, right? Occasionally. Who takes advantage of it? Byington's done an excellent job. But I think what we're seeing is this is exactly where this team is. They're about mid-level, a 500 team in the SEC. They're not in the upper echelon. They're in the middle. But I think they are good enough. But they have so little room for error moving forward as far as how they play. They just don't have the ability, like against Auburn, to have more turnovers than their opponent. They can't shoot 18% from 3 and expect to win. They can't shoot 42% from the floor and expect to win, because the opponents are just too good. And their defense is starting to crack a little bit, as they've been playing enough that the scouting reports out and teams are starting to figure out how to do better against that defense, which was really strong at the beginning of SEC play.
Will, let's go to your past history living in Louisville. It's kind of a triangle there.
I didn't do it, George. I'm not guilty.
Okay, good. Good. I'm glad to know that. In Louisville, you get UK, you get Louisville, and you also get Indiana, which is not far away. I don't know about you. I found Dusty May's comments over the weekend when Michigan played Indiana to be very interesting, because he had the ability, if he had so desired, to say, look, I'm the coach at Michigan. I'm not going to get into this. And instead, it felt like to me he went the other way where he said, I am flattered to be considered. Obviously, I have a lot of history here. This place means a lot to me. Yes, I'm the coach at Michigan. I'm happy here. Will, the cynic in me said that what Dusty May was doing was trying to make sure that Indiana knew, look, if you're interested, hey, we might be able to do the dance. What did you think?
Well, and also, George, again, it's all about leverage, right? He doesn't want to say, hey, I'm the Michigan coach and I have no interest in Indiana. He wants Indiana to come after him because then the first phone call his agent makes is to Michigan. Okay, Indiana's coming after him. This is what they're offering. Do you guys want to match or do you want to let him go? And Indiana has the money for the buyout. I know a lot of coaches out there. I'm not saying every single coach, but I know a lot of coaches out there in their contract, they have a school that they're allowed to get out of their contract for. Okay, I'm not saying there's no buyout, but it's kind of a pre-agreed mutual agreement in the contract that maybe Dusty May has something in his contract with Michigan that says if Indiana comes calling, I get out of my contract and I only have to pay half of what my buyout is. I don't know, but I do know that there are coaches out there that have clauses like that in their contract.
If it comes down to Chris Beard or Dusty May, who do you think Indiana goes with?
Well, me personally, I'd take Chris Beard. I don't know who Indiana goes with, but I'll take Chris Beard in a heartbeat.
Okay, stop there on that one. Let's go to North Carolina because there's out there, if indeed they make the change at the end of the year, there's a lot of big names that North Carolina people want them to go after. They want to talk to Brad Stevens. They want to talk to Jay Wright. They want to talk to so-and-so. And there's a belief that at some point, North Carolina is going to say, look, the big names, the Billy Donovans, all that stuff, none of them are coming here. And you keep hearing Grant McCasland at Texas Tech, and you hear Byington. Should you also hear Jeff Lebo?
I think that's farther down the list. If they get to Jeff Lebo, then I think that they've struck out on their first, their second, and maybe their third option, quite honestly. And that's not any disrespect to Jeff Lebo, but just that's kind of what I feel, when you talk about the latest and greatest, the hottest names, making the biggest impact with a hire.
And so what
now,
you would have is almost the same situation that Kentucky ended up with.
I was just getting ready to say, Mark Pope, I'm not sure a lot of Kentucky fans were thrilled with him at first, but he's done a hell of a job, stampeding across that Kentucky bluegrass, getting a lot of support behind him. And now fans are loving the fact that he's there. Because the one thing I do remember when he got hired, I ran into a lot of former Kentucky players, and every single one of them said they got the right guy.
Interesting. So let's go to where you used to live in Louisville. This guy, Pat Kelsey, has also done a hell of a job.
Yeah, I got to know Kelsey through doing the NCAA tournament every year for Westwood One Radio. I really like this guy. I mean, I literally jokingly said this guy must be on drugs because he has so much energy all the time. Like you see a lot of coaches turn it off and on, right? But this guy is just, I don't know if he drinks a couple gallons of coffee. He's got a deal with Red Bull. I don't know, but this guy is so energetic. But part of it is he's just so passionate about what he does, and he just loves being a coach, right? Because I remember there was a question earlier in the year that somebody asked him about that. I think they lost a game, and he goes, you better understand something. I look at this as an honor. I look at it as an honor to be coaching these kids. I look at it as an honor to be here at Louisville. So the fact that we lost, it's not the end of the world, but this is an honor. So I need to do better. Players need to do better. Hey, he's a different breed, man. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I've seen the video that Louisville's put out on X of him walking around campus imploring kids to get their asses to the game, right? How many coaches would do that? They'd send their assistants out, but this guy's walking around campus, challenging kids to come to the next home game. This kid realized how good Louisville can be. And guess who was had the number one rated NIL class right ahead of Vanderbilt? Louisville. So they realize, how quickly you can turn things around, and they've done it. But now the expectations are there, and he's probably having the same discussion with his athletic director that, Byington's having with Candace Story-Lee about, I need more money because this is what I've done with what you gave me, but I need more for next year because we're on the cusp of doing something really special. I need your help. And that's the bottom line. That's the reality of it now.
Okay, last thing for you before you go shovel all that snow that you're so excited about.
It's my workout for the day.
Wonderful. So if I gave you neutral site, Auburn or Alabama, because I believe what they'll end up doing is splitting in the regular season and that the home team will win both games. On a neutral site, which team do you like better?
Alabama.
Tell me why.
For me, it's about Nate Oates. I mean, and that doesn't mean I don't like Bruce Pearl. That Bruce Pearl is a hell of a coach, hell of a motivator, hell of a cheerleader. I mean, I think he's learned a lot about, with the mistakes he's made in the past. But I think that Auburn, let me put it this way. I think that Auburn has better individual talent, and you saw it on display last night at Memorial, but I think Alabama is a better team top to bottom. And usually the better team wins.
Okay, I'm going to hold you to it. Will, as always, great talking to you. Look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you for the visit.
So, George, what time does your show go to?
5:00 Central Time.
All right. What does the turnip truck pull up at 5:05?
What do you mean by that?
Well, you said I just didn't fall off a turnip truck. I mean, you acknowledge that you're on it. So is that how you get to and from work?
See, Kelly, there's never a time where he comes on that I don't get some kind of cheap shot.
No, it's good for him because I first of all, I can't believe that he befriended you long ago. That's just beyond me.
Yeah, but it's not even that. I told myself today that I was going to be nice to George and I'm not going to take a pot shot. But then he just lobs these softballs up at me. I'm like, come on.
You can't,
really?
Will. You can't be nice to him. You got to keep him down. That's what I do every day.
Listen, at the end of the day, George is a very humble guy, and his arms get real short when the check shows up.
In other words, what he's saying, Kelly, is that we end up, for those of you who are watching, with one of these. That's
funny.
Beautiful. We'll go shovel some snow, and if there isn't any snow, shovel something.
Oh, I'm good at shoveling that too.
I know you are. Hey, talk to you soon.
All right, George. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
See you, brother.
He is always interesting. He has always got an interesting point of view, which is one of the reasons I love having him on when he's available. We're going to go to the break. He put a lot out there. If you all want to quickly, or as it gets said, quickly, if you want to respond and comment on anything he may have put out there, do it. 615-553-0933. Again, 615-553-0933. We're going to have to make this quick. This is 94.9 The Fan.
As we step into the new year, there's nothing more important than family and safety. If a car wreck or big truck accident turns your world upside down, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, we're experienced, and we're ready to fight for what you deserve. Call us anytime at 615-242-9000. Really wishing you a safe and happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
He not go back into the game after that interception?
Let's get this turned around. And we're all saying, no, they don't.
Here.
You thought you were on your way.
Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Music day on the show. Will Perdue, our guest during the 4 o'clock hour, put a lot out there. A lot of meat on the bone. I want to get to a couple of you before we end the show. Tony in Nolensville, give me about 3 minutes if you can.
Thank you, George. I'll try to do it in 2, buddy. He did put a lot out there, and I tell you what, he put some emphasis on some stuff that a lot of people don't think of in the NIL and paying all these players. We always forget about, like he talked about, having to pay the coaches and keep them. The continuity of keeping the staff together. That is a lot of money as well. And when you've got to do all of that and then try to play the schedule, guys, Vanderbilt Saturday is going to be playing Tennessee. For the 4th or 5th game in a row, they're having to play a team that got beat the game before them. So it's making the schedule even tougher. You know, they're going against a team that's got venom and red eyes when they come to play them. And then you've got all this other stuff that you've got to go against. And, George, one thing that I do miss with him talking about the NIL and the portal, I miss, and I think a lot of us older fans do, miss the day where you could see the players come in as a raw freshman, see them develop. You as a fan got to meet some of these players and see them grow up and turn into a good star player in their 4 and 5 years. You don't see that no more. You don't get to have that one-on-one connection from fan to athlete, student athlete,
And I think a lot of that in the game is missed today. That's some of my takes on it. I'll let y'all talk about it. And I just, there's so much to it that we don't talk about much that does occur that we take for granted. Talk to you. Thank you, George. Good show. Great show.
Tony, thank you. Kelly, and it feels like that's one of those things that got out of the toothpaste thing we're not ever going to be able to put it back. And that is a shame.
It is a shame. Well, the same thing happened in free agency, but pro ball is a little different. When you're in college, I just think that guys and fans get comfortable with some of the players, and just like Tony said, you watch them as a freshman, and then they're not very good, and then they get to play a little bit, and then by the time they're juniors and seniors, they're playing really well, and you've watched them be able to grow. But I think those days have come and gone, George. I really don't. I don't see them going back, and I don't know if that's a good thing, but that's where we're at in society.
Clay in Nashville, you're up next. If you can, give me about 2.5 minutes.
George, as always, thanks for squeezing me in. I missed Will's whole deal. I just got out of the dentist chair, unfortunately.
Uh-oh.
And thanks for getting me on. I just had some brief comments, and I'll be quick, about the game last night. I agreed with you, George, that I thought Vanderbilt would cover, and I was hoping for, the upset. And it would have been interesting to see if the fans would have rushed, the students would have rushed the court again. I was hoping they wouldn't. To me, George, it's pretty simple. Auburn made 9 threes. Vanderbilt made 3. Vanderbilt's 3 for 17 from 3. That's unfortunate. Live by the 3, die by the 3. But what I continue to really be proud of, impressed with about this coaching staff, about these kids, the way they battle. This team loves each other, and this team goes to war together. And other than 2 players, M.J. Collins in Virginia and Tyler Nickel from Virginia Tech, these are kids that never played together. So, they're gelling. As we speak today, they're an NCAA tournament team. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the coaches. I'm proud of the kids. And as you know, I love this basketball program, George, and have for a long time. So we missed an opportunity. Interesting that we go back for the rematch in Knoxville on Saturday. Let's hope we get the Tennessee team that can't throw it in the ocean from 3. And Oklahoma, they, hit everything they looked at. It'll be interesting. So maybe it'll come down to 3-point line again. If Vanderbilt makes more threes in Tennessee, maybe we win, or vice versa. But anyway, this team is coming together. This team is trying to make the NCAA tournament, which is amazing. That's amazing. And I've just enjoyed the ride. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for the call. The 3 for 17, it's easy to sit here and say because it's true. Look, if you end up 3 for 17, you're not going to beat Auburn. But right. Billy, I thought, having been there, that Auburn caused a lot of it.
Yeah, and you're playing the number 1 team of the country there, especially early. Thought they missed a few wide open, pretty good looks early, but Auburn did a lot, switching, closing out quickly. A lot of the looks they got were not wide open; they were contested, and there's nights where you shoot like that because you're playing the number 1 team in the country.
Kelly, the 5-game winning streak is over.
Good. I'm glad it is. I'm glad it is. Hey, I want to say something that Clay said though. I think fans, just like Clay, just like you guys, y'all are longtime Vanderbilt Commodore basketball fan, Vanderbilt anything fan, and when you got a team like Mark Byington has, who plays to the end, even though they have no chance of winning, that's what people want to see. They understand, because you don't see that much in today's game, but they've got kids that are buying into what he's saying, and they're hustling on the floor, and that's what everybody wants to see if you're a fan.
Okay, we'll try to regroup with 2 plays tonight. Plaster Bet of the Day is next on 94.9 The Fan.
Where can you see a saber-toothed tiger rappel from the rafters? How about a catfish fly? the biggest stars in Music City. Not to mention hockey's hottest ticket. The Predators win! Only in Smashville. See your Nashville Predators all season long at Bridgestone Arena. Single game tickets are on sale now at NashvillePredators.com. Let's go, Preds!
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Final segment on Wednesday. We've got not the best slate of SEC action tonight. Ole Miss at South Carolina. LSU is at Arkansas. Oklahoma at Missouri. We'll see where George is going with Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Take a look first at what happened last night. Not the best night.
Yeah. By the way, y'all
he was still 50%.
Oh, Ty didn't change the record. Okay.
26-22 is what we are now. So Vandy did not cover. Tennessee clearly did not win at Rupp, and Alabama smoked Texas down in Austin. The guy in Texas, he's not long-term for that job. But
no.
Just a thought. Those people are not going to put up with middle of the road in the SEC because they've got better talent than that, I think. Okay, tonight, we're going outside the SEC. We're taking Little Ricky. Larry Bud is not walking through that door. We're taking St. John's. Whether you like Rick Pitino or not, this man can coach. He has taken a program that was not really on all cylinders, and in 2 years, St. John's is in the top 10 in the United States. They're going to Villanova, which is never easy. Villanova, I think, is down. St. John's, I think, is up. I'm going Johnny's tonight. And then round 2, I'm taking Providence at home against Xavier. Providence has been an up and down, hard to figure team, but it's not as though Xavier is Auburn. They're not. I'm taking Providence. Tomorrow on this very show at 3:20, former Titans strength and conditioning coach Steve Watterson. The NFL has put it out there that concussions are way down. Well, if anybody knows what that really means behind the scenes, it is Steve Watterson. That's an interview you're going to want to hear.
Nice.
Sweet.
I'm looking forward to that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Billy?
George?
Until then, why don't you try to behave?
I'll do my best.
Yeah.
Why don't you try to do something? How about that? Don't try to behave. Do something with your life.
Do something.
Do something with your life.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden he's concerned about your future.
Get out of the bed, Kelly.
I'm about to go lay straight on the couch right now.
You look a little pale, to be honest. In fact,
I'm better than I was yesterday. I made it through the show, which is not saying much.
That is good. Listen, good health to you. We'll talk tomorrow. See all of you on 94.9 The Fan.